Hello, my name is Yahya Hilal, and today we will be presenting a video essay about three of Gabriel Marquez's short stories. He's a renowned South American Colombian writer who wrote dozens of pieces of literature which are great for analyzing and applying various lenses. However, today we'll be applying a feminist lens, given that it will be most appropriate as we found it most appropriate for these three short stories. The Nobel Prize-winning author Gabriel Garcia Marquez has written dozens of captivating and interesting novels and short stories which explore multiple themes including power, solitude, gender, and colonialism. However, our three short stories, The Handsomest Drowned Man, Death Constant Beyond Love, and The Last Voyage of the Ghost Ship all include women and men who are in some way limited as a result of their sex. As a result, feminist lens, which explores how a certain gender can be limited and are expected to act within certain characteristics, is an appropriate method to explore such topics such as the patriarchy and gender performance. According to Judith Butler, gender is a social construct of which there is no original, but is instead a performative behavior which is socialized into individuals externally. Butler 38. As such, through this line of inquiry, it is apparent that in Gabriel Marquez's short stories, he highlights how the patriarchy negatively affects both men and women through portraying their characters' limited gender performance.
First of all, by portraying the limited gender performances of both the senator and Nelson Farina's daughter, in his short story, Death Constant Beyond Love, the negative effects of the patriarchy are depicted. During the beginning of the story, Laura Farina was visiting the senator at his home, where he is viewed to sexually harass Laura Farina. While he was dragging his hand on her body, he noticed something iron which was in the way, and asked her what it was, to which she replied, "A padlock." The senator asked, "Where's the key?" Laura gives a breath of relief and replies, "My papa has it," and that he will send it along with a written promise that he will fix the situation. Marquez 10. Laura Farina is depicted to have a padlock around her waist, which implies that whatever is being guarded by the padlock is of high importance. Additionally, this highlights the concept of virginity and how it needs to be protected and how it has a very high value within the patriarchy. This also shows that women are only valued by whatever is being guarded by the padlock, which in this case is their virginity. Furthermore, this shows that women need to be pure before marriage, specifically by having the padlock locked and having the key out of reach. Furthermore, this shows that women are objects that are traded by different men, whereas Laura Farina was given from her father to the senator to fulfill one purpose only. Also, through the key being out of Laura Farina's reach, this shows her to be powerless and that she does not control her own fate, rather it's controlled by a man. Additionally, throughout the story, the senator is portrayed to be unable to freely express his emotions, given that he managed to have an hour alone in the house, while he took several analgesic pills in order for him to have the remedy ahead of the pain. Additionally, it's described that no one knew that he had been sentenced to a fixed term, as he had decided to endure his secret all alone, not because of pride, but out of shame. Marquez 2. During this specific part of the story, the senator is shown to have a very big problem which has been affecting him throughout the whole story. Through the words that no one knew that he had sentenced to a fixed term and that he had decided to endure his secret alone, this shows that men in the patriarchy are expected to act in a certain way, and if they share any of their problems or their concerns, they are viewed as weak. Also, through the senator managing to have an hour alone and taking analgesic pills, it shows that he goes to extreme measures in order to feel comfortable, which is the opposite of women. Also, the senator in this scene is depicted as weak and strong, whereas he is depicted as weak as having to go to extreme measures in order to feel comfort, while he's depicted as strong whereas he's enduring all of the pain alone without having anyone to talk to or anyone to share his information about. This shows the patriarchy can also be damaging to men as well as women, whereas in this specific scene, the senator cannot share his problems with anyone, and he's having to find solutions all on his own and endure all the pain on his own. This manner is further explained through the American novelist and activist Bell Hooks, who argued that men shouldn't be depicted as the enemy. Rather, in some cases, they can be damaged as much as women as a result of the patriarchy. In one of her speeches, she states that society often depicts men as the enemy, while in reality, men suffer as much as women through their assigned roles in the patriarchy. Hooks 5. Hence, in Marquez's short story, Death Constant Beyond Love, the negative effects of the patriarchy are depicted through the limited gender performances of both the senator and Laura Farina.
Hi, my name's Adi Weiss, and in this section, I'm going to be analyzing Marquez's short story, The Last Voyage of the Ghost Ship. So, secondly, through the portrayal of the limited gender performances of both the boy and his mother in Marquez's short story, The Last Voyage of the Ghost Ship, the negative effects of patriarchy are depicted. This is shown throughout the beginning of the story. Drooling with rage, the boy wanted to prove himself. Now they're going to see who he is in his new strong man's voice. The boy rushed the villagers to the shore to see the ship, but to no avail. They covered him with blows and left him so twisted. He went out with a stolen boat and guided the ship back to the shore. And then he gave himself the pleasure of watching the disbelievers as, with open mouths, the boy finally proved it and became a man. Marquez 2295 and 2297. The word disbelievers that the boy used to describe the villagers emphasizes the hate and resentment that the boy harbors towards them. The repetition of the phrase "now they're going to see" also implies retribution and determination to prove himself. Hence, this characterizes the boy as toxically masculine, given that he wanted to prove his masculinity and bravery to the villagers, so that he would be considered a man. This highlights how the boy is forced to act in a certain manner, as he must be strong and assertive. However, he is not given the freedom to display any emotions or weaknesses. As a result, this depicts the village as a very selfish and assertive environment, as every man is trying to prove himself to others. Additionally, during the story, the boy's mother brought a chair from the Turk's door to rest and mourn her dead husband. But the more she brought back the memory of her dead husband, the more the blood in her heart bubbled up and turned to chocolate. The chair was deemed murderous and was thrown into the sea. Marquez 2293. The metaphor implies that the thought of the dead husband angers her, but makes her miss him even more, given that the chocolate has connotations with love and affection, while bubbled up has connotations with boiling and heat, which implies her anger and frustration. Consequently, this characterizes the mother as passive, given her goals indicate inactivity, which emphasizes how women are viewed as useless in society. Additionally, the mother was always thinking about her dead husband, which highlights how the patriarchy limits both men and women to specific roles in society, given that the mother was reduced to a passive and static role while the boy was active and determined. This is established by Naomi Sender, a psychoanalyst who published a famous piece related to gender and the patriarchy named "Why Does the Patriarchy Persist?" She argues that the patriarchy has established natural characteristics for both men and women which are regarded as normal, as men are expected to be characterized as strong, assertive, independent, while women are assigned more feminine traits which are more emotional, subtle, and dependent. As a result, this places men in a superior and more active role compared to women, who are significantly downgraded. This is portrayed in the mother, given that she was assigned a static and house-caring role, while the boy was characterized as assertive and active. Thus, Marquez is able to depict the negative effects of the patriarchy in his short story, The Last Voyage of the Ghost Ship, by portraying how limited roles of the boy and the mother.
Who are you talking to right now? I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
The third and final short story will apply a feminist lens and analyze will be The Handsomest Young Man. Marquez is able to highlight the negative effect of the patriarchy through portraying the limited gender performances of both the women and the men in the village. In his short story, The Handsomest Young Man, primarily, the woman's role in the village is portrayed to be significantly limited, given that the men went to find out if anyone was missing in their neighboring villages, while the women stayed behind to care for the young man, who they had named Esteban. Added to this, the woman took on a motherly role towards the young man. As they took the mud off with grass swabs, they removed the underwater stones entangled in his hair, and they scraped the crust off with tools used for scaling fish. The visual imagery of the woman taking care of the young man emphasizes affection and attention similar to a mother taking care of her children. Hence, this characterizes the woman as caring and affectionate, which subsequently implies that they are limited within these characteristics, given that they were met with severe misogyny in the story when they tried to take up on new, more masculine roles. A compassionate and caring mood is also generated as a result. Added to this, when the villagers encountered that man's body, which had been found shored up on their beach, the woman in the village described the man to be not only the tallest, strongest, most virile, and best-built man they had ever seen, as they could not find a bed in the village large enough to lay him on, nor was there a table solid enough to use for his weekend. The parallel structure repeating superlative adjectives highlights how the women see him as perfect, as well as emphasizing the man's size. That man is presented to be an example of a hegemonic masculine man, as he is presented to be the ideal man that all the men in the village should act like. Hence, it's made evident how the patriarchy forces both men and women to act in a certain manner. Strong, brave, and assertive for men, while the women are expected to be fragile, soft, and caring, which essentially limits their personalities and actions to these specific characteristics. This is further signified by the feminist philosopher Judith Butler, who argued against the theory of performativity in his book, Gender Trouble, which explained that by enacting conventions, we do make them real to some extent. After all, our ideologies have real consequences for people, but that does not make them any less artificial. In particular, Butler concerns herself with those gender acts that similarly lead to a material change in one's existence and even one's bodily self. Hence, by enacting these artificial patriarchal ideologies highlighted by Butler, both men and women are limited to certain roles and characteristics, which is evidently portrayed in Marquez's The Handsomest Young Man, in Esteban, and The Woman in the Village.
Ultimately, by depicting the characters' limited gender performances in Gabriel Marquez's short stories, he's able to highlight how the patriarchy negatively affects both men and women in society. As it's evident throughout the three stories, The Handsomest Drowned Man, Death Constant Beyond Love, and The Last Voyage of the Ghost Ship, that both the male and female characters are substantially limited in their performances and roles. Given that they are compelled to act within certain characteristics that complies with their nature, this is portrayed in The Senator and the Laura Farina in Death Constant Beyond Love, as the Senator is limited in expressing his emotions, while Laura is reduced to a sexual object who is exploited by her father for his own desires. While in The Handsomest Drowned Man, the drowned man is limited to being strong and powerful, while the women are forced to act within their stereotypical gender roles, caring, housework, etc. Finally, in the last voyage of the ghost ship, the boy and his mother are significantly limited in their roles, given that the mother is portrayed to be passively obsessed with the death of her husband, while the boy is also forced to display his masculinity and he's not able to freely express his emotions. Consequently, this highlights how the patriarchy forces and limits both men and women to perform specific roles which they are expected to perform and cannot act in certain ways.